doesn't tend to charge for anything. They just send you a packing slip, you throw everything in a box, and they ship a refurbished or brand new Joy-Con to you pretty quick. It's still very inconvenient, especially for those who don't have Pro controllers to use while their Joy-Cons are away, and of course up until now, if your warranty had lapsed, you were simply out of luck. Nintendo would still fix or replace them for you, but they would charge you so much that it was barely even worth doing. Apart from that, you can buy a replacement control stick for a relatively low price, though honestly, the idea of taking apart my Joy-Con and doing tiny surgery on its tiny components seems like the perfect recipe for an even more messed up Joy-Con, now with a bunch of blue hair lodged inside, and not to mention all the wasted time me trying to do it. So, also not great, though it's the best option so far for those who don't mind doing those kinds of tiny repairs. Then I've heard that if you lift up the little flap under the control stick and blast it with canned air, it helps a lot. The problem is that in most cases that I've heard of, it doesn't last for too long before wonking out again, so you gotta keep doing it, I assume indefinitely. Also not a particularly ideal solution. And the problem is that even if you can find a relatively cheap solution like replacing the stick, I think it's reasonable to say that you really shouldn't have to. Not everyone has the skill or knowledge to do such a thing. It's still a time and money cost that we shouldn't have to pay. This is absolutely not a problem that we, the customers, should have to shoulder the burden of. Well, it seems that a lot of people agree with me because this issue has only grown bigger and bigger as more and more people have bought Switches, and especially as they've all used them long enough for their Joy-Cons to start wonking out. What was once resigned annoyance has grown into that outrage I was talking about. People are starting to put their foot down and say, this is not okay, myself included. A failure rate this high on any product, much less a Nintendo one, is not okay. Things really started to come to a head recently. I'm not exactly sure what caused it. It might just be that it naturally grew to a certain point, then when people caught wind that it was a big problem that affected a whole lot of other people too, they started banding together. I would say that there was a bit of an extra surge of anger and uncertainty that came with the announcement of the Switch Lite. Since the thing doesn't have detachable Joy-Cons, people wondered if your Switch Lite would inevitably become unusable with no good way to fix it unless it was still under warranty. Fanning the flames even further, Nintendo revealed some new Joy-Con colors, and this felt a little bit like an insult to all the people experiencing these problems. We were kind of like, hey, how's about you think about maybe fixing this horrible issue before giving us new colors? Maybe address the problem in some form? The heat was cranked up even more when the law offices of Chemicles, Schwartz, Kreiner, and Donaldson Smith, because having a simple name and running a law office is literally a federal crime in the US, opened up a class action lawsuit against Nintendo and urged people who have been affected by the drift issue to contact them. I am very sad to say that this is what finally goaded a response from Nintendo. In a statement made to The Verge, they said that they were aware of the issue and that if we have problems, we should contact customer support, and that's it. That's all they said. No promises to make things right for affected customers, nothing about fixing the flaw in the manufacturing process. Not a thing. Just, yeah, we know. How about